Prop Beaver's computer. Just a joke.
There we go. Now we were just talking to nobody there for a second. We are actually live on YouTube now. We were just talking to nobody for about 90 seconds, not knowing that you guys couldn't see us. I think you can see us now. King Jr. says, I do 8-leg parlays and always lose by one team. Someone help me how to learn to pick good teams. Bro, if you're going 7-1 on 8-leg parlays, you are picking excellent.
Yeah, just start doing round robins instead.
Yeah. Or just stop doing that shit. Yeah, you don't need help picking, bro. The best in the world pick at 55%. So you're picking 7 out of 8. You're the best to ever live.
Pretty damn close.
So stop placing parlays. There you go.
Yes. Well, since we didn't, we'll get into this game since nobody heard us talking. Trevor was just going over it. I will say before you start, I'm pretty sure Ziegler plays. Everything that I've read said that he's missed practice, but he plans on playing as long as nothing goes crazy. It sounds like he's more or less missing practice because he knows his body because he's a senior. I don't know. Again, I agree with you. It's kind of, you can't really trust injury news in the college basketball, but I just wanted to say that that's what I have heard. Again, take that with a huge grain of salt.
Well, is 5 too many, or is this a sharp spot to lay 5 with the Vols?
It opened 2.5, so it's moved up quite a bit. I mean, I still like Florida here. We've seen what Tennessee's done lately. I know Ziegler's more than likely going to play. I mean, this is a big game. There's no chance he misses it. But I mean, that offense is really stagnant again. They're shooting too many threes. They're not hitting any. And it's not like Florida plays really good defense, but if Tennessee's going ice cold and they're relying on that defense, Florida's offense is going to find buckets one way or another. They can rebound. They got 4 or 5 dudes on the floor that can shoot the three also. So they've got shooters at all times, and they rebound. I'm here for Florida. I mean, I think everyone's banking on a bounce back from Tennessee here after the Auburn game, Auburn and Kentucky game, but I'm just not buying it. I think this Tennessee team is regressing in front of our eyes and catching 2 possessions with 3 possessions with Florida. I'm all about it. So I'm going to be on Florida tomorrow.
I think Toast is leaning with you, if I'm not mistaken.
Everything makes sense as far as that. I do feel like Kentucky, it just feels like they want you. I'm sorry, Florida. It feels like they want you to bet Florida. Again, Tennessee hasn't looked good, but their 3 losses are Kentucky, which obviously we know that the Avengers are no pushover. Auburn, the best team in the country, or one of the best teams in the country, and Vanderbilt, who has been continued to play surprisingly well, who just beat Tennessee and Kentucky themselves and only lost and got blown out by Auburn. But again, beating Tennessee and Kentucky is pretty damn good. So that Vanderbilt loss for Tennessee doesn't even look that bad. Not to mention the fact that the first time these 2 teams played, obviously Florida got a win. And a huge one at that. It was one of my biggest plays of the year. But at the same time, do we really expect Tennessee to shoot 29% from 2-point range at home and 13% from deep at home? Like, again, I know that Lanier hasn't been fantastic. I will give you that. But at the same time, I have a hard time believing they don't put up better shooting numbers than they did the first time on the road in Florida. And again, if we remember, that was their first. I'm pretty sure that was their first true road game of the year. So there was probably a little bit of shell shock as well. So I personally think that Tennessee should be able to win this game. Again, everything makes sense with Florida, but I just feel like this number is here for a reason. Maybe I'm overthinking it a little bit too much, but yeah, I would lean Tennessee, but I'm not laying it. I'm actually not. There's no chance in hell I actually do it. I do agree with you that this number seems a little bit big, but I think maybe it is because it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and to your point, Tennessee in conference play, they're shooting 44.5% inside the arc, which is 15th in the SEC, and they're shooting 30% from deep. So I mean, obviously they're not going to shoot 20% again, but they've also just been struggling mightily in conference play here. I know that the competition in the SEC is really good, but Florida is also, you got to put them up there with some of the top dogs here in the SEC also. So
you guys are going to laugh because this is going to end with free throws, but what I do think is what they're going to try to make it happen is I think that Tennessee is going to try to muck this game up really, really bad and try to slow Florida down as much as possible. And if they can get into a battle where you have one of the best free throw shooting teams in the conference, against one of the worst in Florida, I think that might decide the game. But again, do I want to lay 5 points with that? Absolutely not.
So you mean to tell me the entire world's taking Florida as a dog?
the world yet, but I don't know anybody on Tennessee. That's I'll say
well,
that.
now you know somebody on Tennessee. Give me the balls. I don't know if I bet this one.
I'd like to see what this is when we do the morning show. I'm very curious to see what this number is.
I mean, I doubt it's going to get any higher than that. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Right, but if it was to come down to 2.5, then that kind of changes things a little bit. That would make more sense.
Next game
It was at 5.5 and dropped right to 4. I
saw
had it
that,
in my slip, and I'm kicking myself for not taking the 5.5. But yeah, it's kind of been all over the place. To your point.
Next game up is Providence versus the Johnnies, and I know Toast is considering laying the big number here. It's time for Providence to come back down to earth. I can get with that.
Yeah, that's pretty much my angle here. I'm not in love with this Johnny's team. I think I've been on record multiple times saying that, but I do think that this number is high for a reason. I got 13 or 13.5. I think it's still around that same number. Again, the Johnnies, I don't really want to say that there's some great team, but they actually have played really well at home. They didn't play great their last game at home against a Xavier team that's been playing better. But at the same time, you have this Providence team that hasn't really looked good against any good competition. Villanova absolutely smoked this team. Creighton absolutely smoked this team. Marquette smoked this team. And then they have back-to-back wins against a Georgetown team that's not very good, against a Seton Hall team that's terrible. Their last 4 of their last 4 wins. Butler, Seton Hall twice, and Georgetown. Like I just think that they're about to get run out of the floor or run out of the gym in Madison Square Garden against this Johnny's team that can get up and down the floor with pace. They can play they're the best defensive team one of the best defensive teams in the country, the best defensive team in the conference. I honestly think that this could be a dog walking, as our friend Andy used to say. I like St. John's a lot here.
Toast thinks it's going to be a dog walking. I was thinking, based on what I know about St. John's, and as you guys know, I'm not the biggest college basketball person. Providence fails to reach 60 points here. It's like a Providence team total under. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually like that angle. I mean, St. John's, they really strive themselves on defense, making you take tough shots, grinding you out, forcing turnovers. I mean, but to Providence's credit, I mean, they did hang on to win at Seton Hall. Georgetown, they won by 10 at home. Ed Cooley game, but I mean, Villanova 2-point loss on the road. Creighton did bust them up for 20, but again, beat Seton Hall, beat Butler. UConn was a 3-point game. St. John's earlier this year was a 2-point game. They played the Bonnies to 4 points for whatever that is. St. John's was laying 5.5 in that first game. That was on the road. So, I mean, now they're at home and it's moved up 8.5 points, 8 points. It feels a bit excessive, but I mean, it's this, to your point, like this number does feel big for a reason. That St. John's just doesn't give Providence anything, and Providence kind of runs into a buzzsaw here. St. John's does have Marquette on deck on Tuesday, so that maybe a bit of a look ahead for that one. But regardless, I think they probably should roll Providence, but I'm gonna end up probably just saying take the points personally.
Wow.
It's a bunch for a team that does play slow. They've been playing better. They've been playing tight. So I would say take the points, but I'm probably going to lay off this game or just take a Providence team total under like you, because this is going to be a mucky, gross game.
I was going to say if I would lean if I like the Providence team total under too, because another thing is that Providence has a really bad turnover issue, and St. John's is going to turn them over a lot, so they're not going to have a whole bunch of easy buckets at all.
Yeah, maybe an under. I'm not going to bet that one, I don't think. Let's move on to the next one, which is Pitt at Wake, and I'm surprised. I'm assuming one of these guys has a bet in this game, because what we're doing is we just pick some games that these guys have bets on, rather than tomorrow we'll go through the entire slate. This one, we're just picking out whatever games these guys have bets on. So I'm assuming one of these guys has a bet, because this isn't the biggest game on the board or anything. Actually, it's a pretty big ACC game.
This game, I have Wake Forest money line here. I think this is a really good bounce back spot for them. Wake Forest was really playing well going right out, essentially since the start of the new year, with a big win against Syracuse, a double-digit win against Syracuse after winning a closer game against Clemson. This was way back in the start of December, but since then they had knocked off a whole bunch of wins. They had that really big win against North Carolina. They played Duke pretty damn close that whole game. They ended up losing by 7, and then they went on the road and kind of ran into a buzzsaw that we know is Louisville. And again, I don't feel like I'm not a Louisville believer, but Louisville continues to win games by almost every game by 20 points, it seems like. So again, I don't really knock Wake off there. And now they get to come home and play this Pittsburgh team that just is fresh off of a North Carolina win themselves. So I think it's kind of a flat spot. They also haven't been the same team on the road. They lost to Florida State on the road by 12 points. Florida State is really not a very good basketball team. I just think that Wake is playing much better right now. And the fact that Wake just played two of the top teams in the conference, or the top two teams in the conference, and played them both pretty damn well. The Louisville game got out of hand a little bit late, but Wake tried in the last 10 minutes of that game. Wake made that game closer than it probably was. But I like the fact that they kept on fighting. So I played Wake on the money line tomorrow. Like I said, I just think they're playing a little bit better.
Trevor, you have any thoughts on this one? I think Toast is just a Wake Forest fan now.
No.
We hit the Wake in UNC over UNC, and now he's a Waker for life.
No, he took Wake plus 8.5 or 9 recently.
Yeah, I hit that too.
No, there you go. I kind of like Pitt here. I mean, I know Wake's off back-to-back losses, now they're heading home. Big Saturday game, but Pitt's just a physical team. They grind you out. They find a way. I mean, I know they lost on the road to Florida State, but their other road loss was Duke and Mississippi State. Other than that, they've won all these road games. But the Florida State one does look bad. But I mean, Wake Forest, their offense is so stagnant. Like, it's not like Pittsburgh's a juggernaut offensively, but they have size to match up with Wake Forest. We know Wake Forest offense can just get stagnant. They can just miss a bunch of shots for 5-6 minutes at a time here. And Pittsburgh shoots free throws well, and Wake Forest does have a bit of a fouling problem. So, you know, if you're going to send an 83% free throw shooting team in conference play to the line a bunch for the game, or, you know, crunch time when it's trading baskets, it's a 1-point game or something, that's not going to bode well for you. So I like Pitt here. I think they're playing better. I know Wake Forest, two tough games and losses, but I just don't believe in this offense personally. So I'm going to go with Pitt here.
I can't argue about the Wake offense. No arguments there, but I will say Hunter Silas got kicked out of the game. Their last game only played 20. That's the only thing I forgot to say. Hunter Silas got kicked out of their last game, only played 24 minutes. I think he has a much better game than 24 minutes, obviously. But I think he plays really well here today. It's going to be the difference.
I kind of agree with Trev here. I don't know about this week. I'm not betting this one either. Come on, we got to find one I want to bet. I actually know I already have a bet down, and the game's queued up, so we'll get to a bet of mine soon. But first, let's move on to the next one, which is, what do we got next? We got 3 games left. The next is Auburn Ole Miss. I know a lot of people want to talk about this one, so Auburn Ole Miss. I'm going to set the poll up. I believe. No, that was Helms. Helms is on Ole Miss. I remember him saying it in the chat that Helms is on Ole Miss.
I'm on Ole Miss too. I got Ole Miss plus 6.5. I'm curious to hear what Trevor has to say in this game, because he just lost a really bad bet, or a very unlucky bet with LSU, as you did too, against this Auburn team. So I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this one.
Yeah, Auburn has not played well on the road. No, don't look at that 13-point win and think that it was dominant.
Thank you.
LSU did close that down to 5 at one point late in the second half. And Auburn just kind of responded. So, I mean, props to them for responding and getting it done here. But that was a 10 to like 8-point game, like 90% of that game. And LSU actually did have a big lead at one point too. But Ole Miss is desperate for a win here. I know they beat Texas, but that was a grinder game. Like that was tough. And now you're going to get Auburn coming in number 1 in the country on a Saturday. Like, this place is going to be amped. It's going to be loud. It's going to be rocking. And like I said, Auburn struggles on the road. Ole Miss has been good at home. They did lose to Texas A&M. They absolutely blew that. They were up 8 with like a minute left. I was going to say,
yeah, they blew that game. They should have won that game easily.
Yep, they absolutely blew it. So now that you're getting number 1 back in here, I do not think they're going to struggle with this. Well, obviously it'll be a struggle game, but 5.5, that's the number I hate to lay with a favorite, especially on the road. And when you're number 1 and you've got that target on your back, so you get everybody's best shot here. I like Ole Miss. I think they're potentially live here. Auburn is due a road loss. They can't keep squeaking these games out. I mean, Georgia had a shot at the buzzer, didn't make it. South Carolina, I believe they had a shot late too. They missed it, ended up losing by 3. Texas, 5-point game, and then what was the other one? They did lose at Duke, but that's Duke's.
Yeah.
But they've won 10 straight or so. They're definitely due. They've been very vulnerable on the road. They're not going to lose at home. So I like Ole Miss. Get up here. You're getting Chris Beard as a dog at home too, which is always an enticing little extra bonus here. So I'm going to be on Ole Miss, and I will probably put Ole Miss money line in like a money line dog.
Yeah, they're definitely in. Ole Miss is definitely in like the 3-teamers that we like to play in the dogs. They definitely got to be in there. I like Ole Miss a lot here. I bet them at 6.5. Pretty much when this line dropped. It's okay. So first of all, there's one thing. We'll just go back to that LSU game that Trevor just talked about first. The one thing that Auburn really did very well is they turned LSU over and got a whole bunch of points off of turnovers, right? Well, Auburn, our LSU 15th in the SEC in the turnover rate. Guess what Mississippi State is? Number 1. They don't turn the ball over for nothing. I'm sorry, Ole Miss, excuse me. I apologize. They don't turn the ball over at all. One of the best teams in the country, one of the number 3 in the country, number 1 in the conference. This team does not turn the ball over. So I don't expect Auburn to get a whole bunch of points inside, a whole bunch of points off of turnovers like they did against LSU to make that game bad. Trevor illustrated about how the Auburn hasn't played well on the road at all. They keep on squeaking by wins. It's only a matter of time. Mississippi has the defense to play with them. This is the best 2 defenses in the conference by far. I just don't understand why it's 6.5. Auburn keeps on squeaking these games by. Mississippi is one of the most experienced teams in the country. The only thing that I worry about is the rebounding advantage for Auburn. Auburn does have a really huge rebounding advantage, but everything else, I think these teams match up extremely well. And like Trevor said, this Ole Miss team is absolutely desperate for a win. And they've also played the games that they've played. I mean, 2 of the losses were on the road. The only home loss was the one, like he said, at Texas A&M, and they just essentially pissed down their leg in that one. So I expect them to play well. Are they live? Very much. Absolutely. There's only a matter of time before Auburn loses a game in the SEC. They're not going to go undefeated. So maybe it's not this game, but I do think this game stay close. I played 6.5. I'd still play 5.5. As long as you can get at least 5, I'd still play it.
So in the comments, Helms is on Ole Miss. Wags says slammed Ole Miss at open. Mark, Ole Miss +6. Sprinkle money line. I'm a little nervous here.
We got a bunch of sharps on the chat tonight.
I'm going to tell you fucks, but I'm blaming all of you because I don't like this bet. I don't like this.
That's what makes it better. If you don't like it, that means it's a lot better. If you love it, it's probably not a good sign.
That's true.
That's what makes it better.
Unfortunately, I like it, so.
Yeah, me too.
Let's move on to the next game. I don't like it. It stinks.
I felt after today, though, I'm feeling really good about myself. So I'm not going to lie. It's been a little bit of dark, but I got everything. I didn't bet Dayton, but they covered everything. Yeah. There's
I had a very nice night myself.
Kyle bet it. That made me feel like I bet it. It felt really good.
Yeah, I had a really nice night myself.
Everything I gave out missed, and then I bet Butler and Sienna on the side, and of course those 2 fucking hit. So
of course. That's how it always
the way she goes, yep.
Kansas, Baylor. Oh, I already know Toast wants to talk about this one. I believe he said he said something like, "I bet it handsomely" or something. The way he described his bet, it seemed like he hit it pretty hard.
Well, you know what they say: win in New Jersey. you gotta make some bigger bets, and I'm gonna trust my boys from Baylor here. I played Baylor on the money line. I think it's like -115, -120 or whatever. But I do think they're playing really good basketball right now. I think that VJ Edgecombe is starting to really find himself, and I think that's going to be kind of the difference. I think that he can really match up with Hunter Dickinson, and if you take Hunter Dickinson out of this game, again, not that I think that I think that he's one of the most overrated players in college basketball history, but he is able to get inside, get rebounds, and do all that stuff. I think Edgecombe matches up very, very well with them, and then everybody else on Kansas is just kind of not that great anymore. I mean, Zeke Mayo has been an absolute shell of himself. Dwan Harris, I mean, can be decent at times, but he's not a guy that I really worry about at all. And you have this Baylor team coming off a really bad loss, not a bad loss, an unlucky loss against BYU where they lost in overtime. They didn't have Jeremy Roach. Signs are saying that Jeremy Roach is going to be back here tonight. It doesn't really matter if they play them or not. This Kansas team has shown us multiple times that they can't be trusted. I mean, the Houston game, it is what it is. Houston's one of the best teams in the country, but we saw that. But they're only away wins. I mean, Cincinnati, we know how bad they are. They can play defense, but they can't score. Baylor can definitely score. Who else did they beat on the road? UCF in a game that after they had just gotten embarrassed at home by West Virginia and they killed UCF. I just don't really trust this Kansas team at all. So I really like the fact that Baylor's playing better defense right now as well. And I trust the Baylor offense at home much, much more than I trust Kansas. And the fact that Baylor's starting to shoot the three ball better, especially in conference, really helps me a lot too. So I like Baylor to bounce back here at home. I really trust them. They've bounced back really well off of losses so far this year. And I think they do it again here tonight.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm going to tail this one because obviously Toast is here, so we'll have it on the big screen, and I'm down. I also am not the biggest Kansas supporter. I will say that if we win this bet and Baylor wins, I'd like to see them win comfortably. Obviously, it's not going to be a blowout, but I'd like to see Baylor win comfortably here because I will hammer Kansas money line this week at home against Iowa State. Probably get a decent price. So if Baylor wins this one, I'm blind betting Kansas money line at home against Iowa State. I don't know what day that game is. I'm imagining it's Wednesday.
Probably Super Tuesday is my guess.
It's Monday. It's Monday, February 3rd. Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, so it's the day after tomorrow?
Yeah. It's on Monday.
No, the day after tomorrow is Sunday.
So they have
It'd be the day after.
Actually, are you sure? I'm in New Jersey, Trev. It's Saturday.
I'm Central, man. We're at 11:25 yet.
Yeah, it's the day after tomorrow here. So are you with us here on Baylor, Trev?
Yeah. Don't dick around and take the points. Just take the money line. It's going to be worth it. You don't want to be caught in a late game situation where it's, like 1.5 seconds left, some random shit, and it's they make the one to go up one, and then they intentionally miss, so Kansas can't run an out of bounds play or something. It sounds like an obscure thing, but I've seen it happen multiple times this year already. So just take the points. But I agree with everything Toast said. This is a great spot for Baylor at home, bounce back. We've seen Kansas just not play good whatsoever right now. And that was at the Fog, and now they're going to leave the Fog. They're vulnerable. I see them dropping this game. I'm on the money line also here. I got minus 122, so little worse price than what you got, but I don't care. This is a Baylor spot 100%. That place is going to be up. And VJ Edgecombe, if you like props, take his points. I'll probably throw it in like an underdog entry or something tomorrow.
So I didn't realize that I was wearing an Iowa State hat when I was saying that. Someone pointed it out in the freaking comments. Yeah. Said Kyle that Denver Philly over was clutch. Yeah, that was actually one of the biggest bets I've made here.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that was a no-brainer start to finish.
We both had bet that pretty decently too. That was nice.
Yeah, they didn't really make a sweat for that one. Shit was 81-78 at half. All right.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like bad defense either. They just weren't missing.
They were, shooting 70% from deep. It was cool. It was fun to watch, that's for sure.
All right. Texas. What's the line for Texas? Minus 1.5. Trev, I think you have a bet in this game because when I said what games you want to talk about, you answered with this one. And I'm hoping that your bet is go Tigers.
No, it's Texas.
No, that's wrong. That's the wrong side.
No. LSU just played Auburn. Auburn, similar to the Houston system, you fade them after they play Auburn. Teams just are terrible. We just saw with Tennessee. They went home and they looked like shit against the Kentucky defense that was missing 2 guys. So now you get LSU, just gave a max effort for that. They went all out. They kept that game, respectable and fairly close. Should have covered, but they didn't. Texas, off the loss at Ole Miss. Tough game. They could have had it, but they blew it. Now they're hitting the road again, play LSU, who's again off the Auburn game. I think Texas is kind of a team that likes to beat up on the little guys. They they like to think all high and mighty of themselves. So they get a big win over a bad team, and then they don't show up against the big dogs. So I like Texas here. I think they're going to get it done. I know LSU's catching points. It's a weird line, but I'm buying into Texas in this one. Trey Johnson, and even without Kaluma, even if he doesn't play, I'm not too worried. I like this Texas roster far better than LSU. And they just, like I said, whenever you got that number 1 on your next to your name, you get everyone's best shot. So I think LSU is going to be a little dead in this one.
You mentioned the system. I have a system of my own. It's called the Rodney Terry system, and when Rodney Terry has a plus next to his name, you take him. When there's a minus next to Rodney Terry's name, you go the other way.
I agree with him too. That's the worst freaking part about
No,
this.
it's true. I just don't like this spot for LSU, but we'll find out. I think they're trying to scare you off of Texas with this line.
The Terry system is pretty clear. Rodney Terry can't function with a minus next to him. It's maybe only 1.5, but there's that minus. And I actually like what I saw from LSU in the last game. Yeah, you could maybe say, hey, that was their Super Bowl, but if they had upset Auburn, okay. Nah, it's not like they're quitting on the season. LSU outright.
This one's really hard for me because I get Trevor's angle, and this is why me and Sauce were arguing, because he told me not to take Texas, and I agree with him as far as not laying points with Rodney Terry, especially on the road, if anything, that we know that. But at the same time, this Texas team has been so good to me. It's not even funny. And again, most of the time we do get them as a dog, so it is what it is. But again, Texas only lost is just that away game to Ole Miss, Florida, Tennessee, Auburn, and Texas A&M. I mean, like the who's who of the SEC. So like the point that Trevor made, they kind of beat up on the little ones and they lose the games that you know that they're not going to win. But man, I want to bet Texas so damn bad, but I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of scared, but I definitely lean Texas. You can definitely put Texas up for me for sure. Do I end up getting to the window with it? I don't know. There's a lot of spots. I don't know if I want to deal with a 50-50 game like this, but I definitely lean Texas.
I mean, Kaluma on the money line, so hopefully it's a 1-point Texas win and everyone goes home happy.
Yeah, and Kaluma played 36 minutes. I don't know what his deal is, dude. It's so weird.
All right, let's move on to the last game that we're talking about. Again, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time, we have 28 games now queued up. So it's going to be a 2-hour show. We're going through the whole thing tomorrow morning. Also, me and Toast will be up in the Discord going through games. So if you're in the Discord, we'll be probably posting bets in there all night. I still am making an NBA video tonight. So this is just the end of the stream here. And I did bet this game. I hate my bet. I hope I lose, honestly, because I feel like it's sort of rooting for, I don't want to say terrorism, but it's rooting for the bad guys here. Gonzaga is like the Yankees, and they're like the Yankees of the WCC, and St. Mary's is like more of like a superhero that hasn't gotten its powers yet. Like people don't realize how powerful St. Mary's is. And I want to bet St. Mary's so bad. I hope I lose this bet, but I believe the Zags are the move, and I bet it. I bet the -1.5. I'm not proud of myself, but I did bet it.
Trevor? Because I'm on Gonzaga. So
yeah, I mean, I get I get it. I absolutely get it. But we've got a little system here myself. St. Mary's opened up as the favorite now they're the dog. I hate those favorite crossovers. Offering Gonzaga up at catching points that feel trappy. So I'm just gonna let everyone move this line to wherever they want. I'll be on St. Mary's. This is the biggest game of the year. I know. Big mistake. I know they just came off of that Santa Clara game where they just absolutely embarrassed not only Santa Clara but myself. And so maybe it's a little bit of a trap to yep, yeah, you know what it was like. Maybe it's a tad bit of a trap to go back to it, but at home they've got the size. We've seen Gonzaga; their defense is horrible. So I think St. Mary's plays enough defense to hang in this game. Their offense obviously is not as efficient as Gonzaga's, but at home, I'm pretty sure this will be on ESPN or something. ESPN at 10 o'clock. So this will be a nationally televised game in Galarraga. They're riding high. That defense was playing great. So I think St. Mary's comes out, gets it done. I think it'll be a back and forth game, probably within 6-7 points the whole way. These two teams always play tight games.
Shipley is in the comments. St. Mary's is air. Helms asked, which way did this one flip? St. Mary's opened up as short favorites. They're now catching 1.5 pretty much across the board. So Zags are laying. I agree with the line movement. I hope Trevor wins this bet, honestly. I'll be happy to donate the money to the cause. Because like I said, St. Mary's is just such a more pure program, more pure of heart. They're just a program you want to believe in. Reggie Bennett, great trainer, great. Reggie Bennett just represents everything you want to see in college basketball moving forward, and I'll be rooting for Reggie Bennett. So go ahead.
Okay. Obviously, Gonzaga isn't the same, and I've been going on about that, and I don't think they're the same. But I do think that they've probably flipped that proverbial switch in a way after losing back-to-back games to Oregon State and Santa Clara. Obviously, Portland and Oregon State, again, Oregon State away from Corvallis is a completely different story. But holding both of those teams to 60 points and essentially scoring 100 points on average in both of those games makes me feel like Gonzaga, like I said, flipped that switch a little bit. And I do think that they match up very well with St. Mary's. These are two of the best defenses in WCC. But Gonzaga has the size to match up with St. Mary's. I feel like EK should play well. Braden Huff 6'10" should be able to be fine. Ben Gregg 6'10". Michael Ayayi, who I will admit hasn't been the same guy, but over the last couple games, 20 points against Portland, 15 points against Oregon State. If he's starting to get going again, Gonzaga's got dudes, as they like to say. They have a lot of big dudes as well. Not to mention you have one of the best, if not the best point guard in America in Ryan Nembhard. I think this is a spot where Gonzaga trying to reassert himself into the national spotlight and says that we're still here. Takes them to St. Mary's and puts them down a little bit.
Okay, you're taking it too far now. I think they're going to win the game. You're making it some poetic
St. Mary's
shit.
went on a 30-0 run. Like, F you. Like, that's not going to happen against Gonzaga. Like, nothing of that sort. That was just an absolute all-time melt by Santa Clara. That was an absolute joke. I can't even...
I was just betting Gonzaga to cover the -1. Toast was like, they're going to insert themselves back into the national spotlight. That's
that's what I'm saying. They will. They're still the 10th ranked team in KenPom, and everybody acts like they're just dead in the water.
Well, clearly KenPom is flawed.
It's their defense is what's the main issue. Like, I know they just held them down, so maybe they did flip that switch, like you said, after those losses. But obviously, I don't think this will be a crazy high-scoring game. I think that total kind of implies it'll be more of a St. Mary style game.
Agreed.
Slow down defense, look for good shots, use the clock, don't fire up anything bad. So, if you're a total better, I don't mind the under here. I'm horrendous with totals though, so I do not touch them. But this just feels like it's going to be St. Mary getting their game, and like I said, back and forth. They'll find a way late to get this done.
Speaking of totals, I got another NBA over I like again tomorrow. I got Kings Thunder over 233. It's only a 233.5 now, so I don't know if we'll see which way it moves, but I like that over. All right, that's it. We'll be back at 10 a.m. Like I said, we're going through 28 games. So if you're coming, make sure you take a piss before we start. It's going to be a marathon. But yeah, there's that much action. So it'll be me, Toast, and Scoop. Like I said, hit me up in the Discord if you need me. I'll be up for several hours if you need me. Everyone have a good night. Bet responsibly. See